Hi, I'm Dr. Boyce Watkins. Welcome to Financial Lovemaking. This is where we talk about love, life, money, and everything in between. And I'm here with my buddy, my partner, my co-host, Miss S. Tia Brown, out of New York and out of Ebony Magazine. How you doing today, Tia?
I'm doing well. Excited about today's topic. It's really hot. Hint, hint.
Yeah, well, I don't know if people know that you are the entertainment director at Ebony. Now, I'm wondering, was there kind of office talk about this Jeremy Meeks sexy thug mugshot photo? What's kind of been the talk of women about this picture?
I think in general, women find him attractive. I mean, he's kind of classic handsome, and he has a unique look because he has, blue eyes, and he has a very chiseled face. And for you guys who don't know who Jeremy Meeks is, he is the convict who's come to receive a lot of acclaim recently because his mugshot received a significant amount of likes via social media. He's one sexy guy, but he's also a bad boy. So this has caused a lot of people to feel conflicted about whether or not he deserves a lot of attention. Now, the new news with him is that he received a contract for approximately $30,000 with a modeling agency. There's just one catch. He's still in jail. He needs to be bailed out. I think his bond is like $1 million or something ridiculous like that. So I think, there'll be some time before enough funds are raised. I'm not exactly sure how bonds work. I think it's like 10% or 20% of what the actual total price is, but that's still a significant amount of money. So, boys, tell me what you think. Do you think that he deserves, number one, all of the attention he's received via social media, and number two, a new job offer, even though he's known for committing several crimes? Now, his family has said, this is in the past. He has been allegedly a member of a gang. He's been arrested for various felonies, grand theft, and things of that nature, and something called street terrorism, which is a very unique term. So definitely he's had some bad boy history. But people change their stripes. What do you think?
Well, just for the record, from what I understand, the contract wasn't just for $30,000. It was $30,000 a month, right? Which is a ton of money. I mean, that's $360,000 a year. So it's about as much as a surgeon makes, right? And does he deserve it? I guess he does, right? Because he's got that look. If you've got the look, then you're going to get the call and you're going to get the opportunity, which he certainly deserves because he was gifted to look the way he looks. And you have to ask, what if he'd been discovered before he began his life of crime? Would he have been a different person? We don't know. I hope that at the very least these opportunities make him into a different person because that's good for society. And I also think that the court should take this into consideration that maybe if they give this guy another chance, he may actually go out and do something good in the world. So maybe you put him on probation, you monitor his activity carefully, you give him a short leash, but at the same time, maybe you give him a chance to do this. I don't think the world is better off keeping people in prison that could be productive citizens otherwise. But you have to consider the fact that, and again, I'd say this as an incarceration advocate. Not that I incarcerate for people to get locked up, but I
advocate.
Advocate, not incarcerate. Sorry, I advocate for them to get out if they should be out, right? So, for him, I say, go, brother, go, do your thing. I hope you make your money. I hope that this leads you to make better decisions. Now, with that said, I want to also talk about the conversation I would have with my daughters about this. And to me, every young black woman who reads any of my articles, those are all my daughters. Every child deserves a dad, even if he's just a guy on the internet. And so any advice I give my actual daughters, I share with the world, really, seriously, because that's what a dad does. A dad looks out for you. He gives you that unbiased perspective. I'm not gay, so I'm not gonna be wooed by the sexy thug thing, right? I'm a normal heterosexual male, so I'm gonna look at this objectively. And when I look at it objectively, I would tell my daughters, be thoughtful about this attraction to the bad boy. You see that, Beyonce kind of glorified a lot of this when she had that song Soldier, where she was talking about how she wants a man who's going to carry a gun and do all these, these thuggish things. Because there's something attractive, something very appealing about that rebel, that bad guy, and it's natural. Actually, biologists will say that there's a natural attraction that women have toward high testosterone men, or men who just kind of don't give a X, Y, Z, and who kind of live their own life, and that's fine. But what I always tell my daughters too, though, is you have to remember, if you live by the thug, you can also die by the thug. There are lots and lots of women. I just read a story just last night about a woman who was killed by her thuggish boyfriend, and people were saying, "Well, how do we feel? Should we feel bad for her or not bad for her?" Because every time he beat her, she would go bail him out. Every time he got in trouble, she would get him out of trouble.
Right, but let's be sure and certain not to lump in domestic violence with thuggish behavior, because those are really two kind of separate issues.
But no. But he's a terrorist. He's been arrested for what'd you say? What'd you say it was?
It was called street terrorism.
Street terrorism, right? He's been arrested for violent crimes. That is a huge signal of what this person is capable of in the event that you become their enemy. There's a thin line between love and hate. The person who will walk 10 miles in the snow to kiss you is also the person who will walk 10 miles in the snow to kill you. And people have to understand that when you're in these relationships, and because I hear this all the time. I hear young women say, "Oh, I want the corporate thug. I want what Beyonce has. I want my Jay-Z because I want the guy with that edginess about him." And I say that's fine. Pick what you want, but understand that so-called thuggish behavior comes with a set of cultural norms that are not always safe or helpful or respectful toward women.
Okay, so this is my concern with that, because when we use the term thug, especially in the context of the initial part of this conversation, we are thinking about, black men. And I don't want to make it seem like all guys who live the street life are abusive. There are all types of men who are abusive. There are people who have thuggish personalities and look very different and have different lifestyles and can still participate in domestic violence. And there are certain issues that arise with that. So while I understand what you're saying in terms of people who, what they'll do to you or for you can happen in reverse, I get it. But I want to be very clear on making that line of separation. However, I do think it is important for people to understand there are consequences when we glorify behavior that we know is unethical, and it can come to your doorstep in any way. So not only in the way of domestic violence, but also if you're involved with someone who lives in the street life and they have a problem on the street, that can come into your house. Someone can hurt your family member, someone can hurt you, someone can hurt your child, a loved one. It doesn't end on that corner. The big thing about media is that people really deal in stereotypes. So when Beyonce sings about her soldier, while Jay-Z, yes, we know her husband is a reformed thug, he's an anomaly, right? This is not the everyday guy. And she's talking about an archetype that seems very sexy. In real life, most guys aren't going to go from being on a corner to becoming multimillionaires, right? It's just not going to happen. So women just have to be really careful in terms of what security looks like for them in real life. You can have a man who makes you feel safe and who is masculine and assertive without doing negative things. So when we talk about reshaping what security looks like for not just African American women, but for women in general, particularly women who grow up in tougher environments where that physical safety is at the forefront of your life, it's really about reshaping what that looks like. Being tough and being a bad boy isn't the only way that men can exact their masculinity, right? They can do that in other ways, in a corporate way. Or you can have a guy who's a nerd who can still learn how to use his hands and you feel safe. And you have some men who might never be able to physically defend you, but can put you in a gated community and you'll feel safer than you've ever felt in your life.
Well, I
talk about Jeremy. The big thing that you said at the beginning is that regardless of what your past is, if a person is trying to change their life, they deserve an opportunity to have a career so they can provide for themselves. And that's one of the best ways to combat poverty and violence. Give a person an opportunity. His looks are his natural talent, so let's give him an opportunity there. But if he messes up again and he proves that he's not worthy of being in society in a way that's productive, then he has to face the consequence. What were you going to say, Boyce?
No, I agree with you. And the thing is that, if you talk specifically about Jeremy Meeks, you're talking about a guy who's being charged with a dozen felonies. Mm-hmm. In my state of Kentucky, where I'm from, the term they have for that is persistent felony offender, which means, this isn't a guy who got arrested for jaywalking or who, smoked a little weed. This is a guy who has consistently broken the law. But at the same time, I still think that his opportunity should play a role in how he's sentenced. That being said, If you talk about what most people go through, what most people are tempted by, what I can say certainly is that there is a natural attraction that women have toward strength in a man. And that's why women are naturally, on average, they tend to be more attracted to men who are taller, men who have bigger muscles, men who are smarter, men who have more money, men who are more powerful, men, all those things, right? And and so, excuse me. So when I talk to my daughters, I tell them, look, it's okay and it's normal for you to want a man who makes you feel secure. It's okay and normal for you to want a man who's strong, but don't let hip hop culture trick you into thinking that the only measure of strength is thuggery. Because there are guys who, I tell you, it's going back to your point. If you're dating Mark Zuckerberg, the founder of Facebook, that's a lot of strength.
Then.
Right. That's a wealthy, powerful, very intelligent man. And you can't sort of walk away from a guy like that because he's not the thug that you dreamed about because you saw the Beyonce video. Because remember,
and people say that. I don't even want to just limit it to a Mark. We lump all thugs to make it seem like, or perceived thugs, that everyone looks the same. But in that Soldier video, the people who rapped in it were T.I. and Lil Wayne. I'm bigger than both of those guys,
Right.
When we talk about perception of strength, it's not just size, really. It's also about money. And it's also about having that tough guy attitude. So there are all of these things that go into the stereotypes of what a thug should be, specifically African-American thug, which is very different than in other cultures. And I want people to really be mindful of all of those elements, that, it's not just about his size. It's about the attitude. It's about the perception of power in a negative way. We need to start thinking about how to shift that to a more positive light. Continue.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I mean, I think that, first of all, we know that most thugs, quote unquote thugs, are guys who may, connect to the thug culture.
Right.
A lot of them are not bad people. A lot of them are not stupid people. But what's unfortunate, though, is that the music has certainly shifted the balance to the point where you have one type of strength being glorified, other types of strength being ignored. For example, when Barack Obama became president of the United States and instantly catapulted to be the most sexiest man on earth, a lot of women would say, "Oh, I wish I could have a man like that." But I remember a woman writing an article saying, "You wouldn't have picked a man like that because
I would have."
I know you would have. Right? You would have. You're a smart one. But so I think that is and I remember sitting at a table with a bunch of guys who were making at least $200,000 or $300,000 a year, who had master's degrees and up, all the way to medical degrees, PhDs, all that. And that was kind of the common consensus that, when we were the nerdy kid in college studying 8 hours a day, there were a lot of women who would go chase after the thug instead of us, and then those same women. No, and I'm talking about guys who are far better looking than me. I'm not just talking about. I'm not just talking about. I'm not talking about nerds per se.
My combat to that is always this. Those guys, because I know a lot of those men, right? They don't want the nice woman who's attractive, who is equally yoked with them. They want the dime. She wants her dime. So you can't be mad when you were trying to get top of the food chain girl and she was like, well, you're not top of the food chain guy based on what we want right now. So to me, those arguments are null and void.
I think that the argument is perfectly valid in that, and I think we can't generalize entirely, right? We cannot say every one of these guys wants the dime. I didn't want the dime. I wanted a smart woman. I'll say that. Now attractive, yes, but smart, dumb has never applied. But
it has nothing to do with being dumb. What I'm saying is that men, as much as you like to stereotype that women like, and I'm not saying it's total stereotype, women might like guys with muscles. Men are attracted to the most beautiful woman, right? And then you get upset when she turns you down. If you're trying to date out of your league, don't be upset. Now, once you're successful, your league has changed.
Now that's true. But understand it this way, and this is a financial lovemaking point here. One thing I understood very early, maybe it's because I studied finance and I studied investing more than anybody, more than most of the people I knew. I understood that you don't look at what an asset is worth right now. You look at what it's going to be worth in the future. So right. Even when I was maybe 25, when I dated a woman, I didn't think about who she was right now. I thought, okay, what's this going to look like in 10, 15,
right? But that
5,
level
10
of
years
maturity and insight, usually doesn't happen until people are, like you said, in your mid-20s. And when men are telling these stories, they're usually talking about high school and undergrad. During that time period, people are dating for superficial reasons. So I hate when, we hear these stereotypes about how, God, black women never like this, or women never paid me attention. Well, that's part of that phase in life. You were being chiseled.
It is part of that phase, but you can't live your whole life in one phase. That's my point. No, seriously, think about it though. You have lots of people, young people. Let's say young women between the ages of 22 and 28, who, many of whom, not all of whom, but many of whom are interested in finding a lifelong partner. Some of them just want a partner for the week, for the month, for the day. But a lot of women are thinking, okay, I'm at this stage where I'm looking for my husband, the man who's going to raise my children. It doesn't make sense to me to date based on what a person is right now. It seems to me that you want to look at what a person is going to be a decade from now. And if you can't do that, if you're thinking, oh, I want to date Lil Wayne because I'm 27 years old, he's the same age as me, and he's sexy, he's powerful, and he's Lil Wayne, well, I mean, I guess that's your decision. I mean, everybody has a right to choose what the best thing that they have available to them.
Woman, and I feel like that's a little bit of a condescending statement, because the average woman in her 20s, even if she's into, if she's a fan of Lil Wayne, the average woman is not looking to date Lil Wayne, literally. Now, if you're trying to say that women are not prioritizing what will make good long-term mate characteristics and qualities, that's a broader conversation. And one of the biggest issues that we've had on both parts is that in the African American community, historically over the last 20 years, we have not had as many marriages in the household. So both parties aren't always looking for the qualities that are best for long-term mating.
Well, I agree.
And while I do think that girls, women, people glorify the Beyoncés and the Lil Waynes of the world, I think that the way that it transitions down is that we do look at fun. We do look at flash. We don't always take into consideration substance, and we don't always understand what those qualities will be. What makes a good partner? What is the, if a person drives a great car, right, and they have a BMW, but they live in an apartment, is that someone who's a good financial partner for you? Those are the things we have to look at. If a woman is beautiful and, she shops and she's fly, but she's partying all the time, is she going to make a good mother? So those are really the things that we have to look at as terms of them transitioning down. I think when we talk about role models and things like that, that's really like younger people, like teenagers. I don't hear grown women talking about Lil Wayne. I do see them dating fly boys who don't have any assets.
Right, and what I'll say too is that I don't think that either one of us is qualified or even trying to talk necessarily about what the average person does or what everybody's doing. Okay. I think it's more so. I think the information should be laid out there for those who want to make smart decisions for themselves, who want to position themselves to have the best opportunities possible and the best relationships possible. And, what I would generally say is that if you are smart, you don't want to be one of those people, because they are out there. We know they are. But are they the majority? I don't know. But there are those people, not men, not women, people who choose based on flash, who choose based on what an asset looks like right now. And your spouse, your future spouse, your relationship, that is an asset for you. They choose based on what something looks like now, as opposed to what it's going to look like 5-10 years from now. And I can tell you this: when I think about people I know who are doing really well for themselves, mid to late 30s, early 40s, in their relationships, I go back and I remember when they made certain choices strategically that position them for these opportunities.
Absolutely.
So that's the main point. It's not to say, oh, all women pass up the nerdy guy or whatever, but I think, to the Barack Obama example, I think that a lot of people should be asked that question. You love Barack Obama as the president, but would you have really wanted to be with him when he couldn't go and charge a rental car with his credit card because the car kept getting declined? Would he have still been your mate of choice? And I think that requires insight.
I think that we do have to think big picture in terms of the work it takes to get to the end goal. So, regardless of where you are right now in your relationship, when we're looking at building, is this a person who is willing to make the sacrifices so that we can get to the end point? So I absolutely agree with you there. You know, we'd love to hear what you guys out there have to say about this topic. So please write us and let us know your thoughts on what we discussed today. Thanks for listening. Have a good day.
Bye-bye.